was 15 feet straight down
no,
an angle,
no,
where
no,
at the
I'm not
bottom
doing
of
that.
those 15 feet,
I
was
am
a
not
square
going in
hole
there.
just going headfirst into what most people would consider
no.
a nice...
Oh, no. Yes, guys, I am back with a Mr. Ballen video. I know you guys miss me. I know it. Come on. Tell me.
Nope.
Just say it. Just say it. Okay, guys. I have to be a little bit more quiet. Family's in the house, so bit of a shame, but you know, it is what it is. Let's move my chair over a little bit. Yeah, like I said, reacting to another Mr. Ballen video. I'm not going to drag this on. Without further ado, let's get straight into this video. Okay, guys, here it is. The video is called "This National Park Has a Death Trap." Like I said, just go and show some love to Mr. Ballen. He makes great videos. And yeah, without further ado, let's get straight into this video, shall we?
Is about an infamous caving incident. The reason for its infamy is largely because
in the national
of a
park?
photo that was taken during the event. Now, if you didn't know anything about this photo and you just looked at it, it would be haunting and kind of unsettling, but when you have the full picture, the full context of what's going on in this photo, it will leave you highly disturbed. That photo will be shown at the end of today's video.
Okay.
But before we get into today's story, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious
yes, I am.
format, then you've come to the right place, because that's all we do, and we upload once a week. So if that's
I remember with his other videos, it's like 4 or 5 times a week. Now it's down to 1.
Sure to
but makes sense because he's got a life, doesn't he? So
into their living room. Also, please subscribe to our channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. Okay, let's get into today's story.
Within reach. Ooh.
On January 30th,
actually, now let me see if I'm subscribed to Mr. Ballen. Am I? Oh yes, I am subscribed. I'll give it a like. Because all of his videos are good. None of them are really bad. But let's carry on.
1925. A 37-year-old man named Floyd Collins walked through this huge forest in central Kentucky.
So this is old.
National Park. As he walked along, his boots splashed in the melting snow and mud on the ground, and above him, all he heard was the sound of water dripping down amongst the leaves. It was warmer than it had been in several days, and so that was why Floyd was out here. He was trying to take advantage of the nice weather. And so after walking for a while on this muddy, slushy trail, the trees around Floyd began to thin out, and then eventually he reached the edge of the tree line, and in front of him was this huge clearing. Now, in this clearing, the trail he was on continued straight ahead, but it came to a stop in front of this huge cavern-like opening in the side of a hill. And so without hesitation, Floyd stepped out of the trees into the sunlight, and he walked the rest of the trail right up to the opening of this cavern, and he stopped.
I'm going to try and avoid pausing because it's
this cavern-like space
long video. I don't want to make my video too long.
To a cave known as Sand Cave.
Sand
Floyd
Cave.
had spent the last week coming out to
they could have made the name a bit more
tunnels.
scary.
But today, his plan was to go as deep and as far inside of this cave as he possibly could. Caves were a huge tourist attraction in this region, and Floyd was a very experienced caver who had been caving since he was 6 years old. And he knew that most of Sand Cave had not been explored. And so if he could go in there and explore all the different parts of the cave and map it all out and make sure it was safe, it was sure to be a huge moneymaker. He could bring people here and lead them on guided tours. So Floyd left the muddy path he had been walking on and stepped foot inside of this grand entrance to Sand Cave. It's basically this 250-foot wide cathedral-like space inside of this hill with ceilings high enough you could stand. But it's totally dark in there, and despite being this space, it very quickly
I'm not going into dark caves.
to this one kind of tunnel that goes straight down and connects to all these offshoot underground passageways, many of which have never been explored before. And so, as Floyd walked across this big
that can be dangerous.
He lit his oil lamp and then began mentally preparing himself for what he was about to do, which was going to be very claustrophobia-inducing, even for a very experienced caver. And so Floyd...
No, I can't deal with claustrophobic situations. I hate that. Caves and everything, no.
And he began walking down it. And this tunnel was not very restricting. You could stand in it, you could move around in it, but it was very short. It was 15 feet straight down an angle, where at the
I'm not doing
of
that.
those 15 feet
I am not
square
going in
hole
there.
the ground. And Floyd, having been here the previous week, knew that once you go through this hole, the real caving begins. Now you're going to be down on your hands and knees, wriggling your way through these very tight and restricting areas where you don't really know where you're going. Because again, a lot of this stuff has never been explored before. But
so you're just guessing where you're going. Great.
He loved the adventure and the risk of doing things like this. And so Floyd got to this hole. He put his oil lamp down on the ground. He casually
Man's got an oil lamp. Oh yeah, but this is
hole, which dropped down several feet.
80s,
once he was
70s. Yes, this is future me again. Just to say that this is the 30s, not the 80s, like Taylor says here. And he's getting better. He is getting better. But it's just taking a while. Maybe even earlier, actually.
Grabbed his oil lamp and pulled it into the hole with him. Once he was inside of this lower level space, he crouched down and looked around, and off to his right was a tunnel that he could crawl through that seemed to lead to a series of other tunnels. And so he puts his lamp in front of him, he gets down, and he begins crawling through this tunnel. And after a little while, he reaches this kind of fork in the road where he had several options of very narrow tunnels to choose from. Now, the previous week, Floyd had gone down several of these tunnels and mapped out where
it has been before.
But there was one tunnel in particular
they wanted to
go that was very narrow. It was likely the most narrow of all the tunnels. But from where he had seen the last week, it looked like it went pretty far without obstruction. And so he immediately began going head first into this tunnel.
How wide is a tunnel?
Where it was going to go.
Maybe I missed it.
If you go head first into a tunnel and you get stuck, what are you going to do? You can't really go anywhere. So this guy is like totally fearless, just going head first into what most people would consider a nightmare scenario. And so the way Floyd,
the claustrophobia would be unreal
in front of him, and then he'd keep his hands over his head, and he'd kind of wriggle his way head first and push his lamp along the way. And so that's what he did. He began going into this really restrictive tunnel. You know, it's hard to breathe because the walls are so tight on his chest cavity. And as he's going, eventually the ceiling begins to slope upward just enough that he can pull himself up onto his hands and knees and kind of catch his breath. By this point, Floyd was approximately 55 feet underground. That's where this little pocket was, where he could get
55 feet underground, jeez.
And so from this position, he still could see with his lamp that this tunnel continued to snake further and further down, and his hope was that eventually it would lead to a big underground chamber that was not just big enough to go to your hands and knees on, but was big enough you could
walk around
in. Because those were the big tourist attractions. Not only because it seems like another world underground that you can fully explore.
I mean, it does. Caves are interesting to look in, but they have to be big caves for me to ever go near them.
Caves. A lot of times, those big underground chambers are full of Native American artifacts. And again, that was a huge potential moneymaker for people like Floyd, because it allowed him to advertise that this cave where tourists could go explore was full of all this rich history.
He could sell them.
So Floyd eventually, after catching his breath in this little spot, got back down onto his stomach with his hands out in front of him, with the lamp out ahead of his fingers, and he began going deeper and deeper into this unexplored section.
No, see, he's got balls.
And as he inched along,
even
though the ceiling remained very tight on top of him, he's totally compressed to the ground, the walls on either side of him began to expand, which meant Floyd, if he wanted to, could actually turn himself around, although he couldn't stand up. And so Floyd is making his way down this very low ceiling area when he notices his oil lamp is beginning to flicker, which means it's going to go out soon. Now, Floyd wasn't concerned about suddenly being in the darkness inside of a cave. Now, to most people, that would be
yes,
terrifying.
that would be terrifying.
Floyd, again, was so experienced, he was very confident that he could easily make his way out again just by touch. He didn't need the light. But he did know
says that
trying to move around.
Watch about 5 minutes later.
In the darkness was dangerous.
He's going to get
He
lost.
should not do that if he could avoid it. And so as much as Floyd wanted to continue and
he's gonna
find
turn around.
something incredible inside of this cave, he decided he really needed to just turn around and go back to the surface and come back the next day to continue exploring. And so because this part of the tunnel he was in was really wide, he was able to turn himself around and drag his lamp until he was facing back uphill. And then he rolled onto his back. So his head
is facing the ceiling,
back up where he came from.
Oh, no.
And his feet are pointing in the direction that he had previously been traveling. And he's on his back. And so his oil lamp is above his head. He can move his arms side to side because, again, it's pretty wide in the area he's in. But his head is pretty restricted by the ceiling.
Oh, it's like that. It's like that wide.
Pushing with his arms, moving up the tunnel on his back. And as he would move, he'd use his head and his hands to push the oil lamp back up the direction he was going. And for a little while, this system worked great. But at some point, right as he was getting close to that area where he was able to previously get on his hands and knees and catch his breath, Floyd accidentally kind of rushed and pushed his lamp too hard and knocked it over, which extinguished the light. And so suddenly, Floyd was cast into total darkness.
Oh, no. Ooh. So he's now in darkness.
Again, Floyd
Great.
was not concerned or really even scared about being.
He wasn't scared.
In this cave, but this was not a good scenario, and he knew it. But he told himself, stay calm. He knew where he was in the cave. He just needed to get to that little pocket. He'd catch his breath, and then he'd continue his way back up. Eventually, reach that hole in the ceiling, that square hole. He'd climb out, make his way out of the cave, and boom, he'd be done. And so Floyd just continued to push the now extinguished oil lamp above his head, and he continued to inch with his heels and moved his arms around to keep going backwards up this tunnel. But then,
this would be agonizing.
Before Floyd reached that pocket inside of the tunnel where he could get onto his hands and knees, he heard the sound of falling rocks somewhere below him, kind of near his legs. Now it's pitch black, he can't see anything. And so Floyd just kind of held his breath and hoped that whatever was happening wouldn't affect him. But then he felt a shooting pain in his left leg.
Oh no.
A 27-pound rock had broken loose from the low ceiling and landed on his left ankle. Now, at first, Floyd was actually relieved that the rock had landed only on his left leg.
I mean, true.
His leg was actually kind of positioned in a depression on the floor of the cave. And so the rock didn't really hit his left ankle directly. It kind of like hit the ground and then leaned onto his left ankle. And his left ankle was kind of protected in the depression in the cave floor. And so Floyd's thinking, thank goodness it only landed on my ankle.
I don't think it's broken, it's just stuck.
My head or my chest, because then I'd be dead. And so, after catching his breath and kind of calming down, Floyd tensed his body and pulled his left leg as hard as he could to clear this 27-pound rock. But his foot
12
wouldn't
kg.
budge. And so Floyd thought he would just reach down and kind of dig his foot out. He'd just move the rock out of the way. But even though this cave had widened out on either side of Floyd when he had gone deeper and deeper into it, because he had retraced his steps,
it's gonna shallow.
He was farther up the tunnel where those sides had really come in much closer to him. And so he wasn't able to actually reach down and touch the rock. The walls made it impossible.
You use your other foot maybe and kick the rock?
His hands to clear this rock. And so Floyd is pinned underground, unable to move, in absolute pitch darkness inside of a cave that's practically crushing his chest because the ceiling is so low, and he knows it's unstable. The ceiling has now fallen off, so there's a chance more rocks could come in at any time. I mean, this is like a worst case scenario for anybody who goes caving. But Floyd told himself to just stay calm. He knew this was a very bad situation, but people were certain to find out he was missing, and they knew he had gone to Sand Cave, and they would come here, they would find him, and they would rescue him. And so Floyd just decided he would wait. And for an agonizing 30 hours, remember, 30 hours of pitch blackness, trapped in a totally claustrophobic environment. 30 hours of this, no food, no water, can't go to the bathroom. He's laying there for 30 hours.
I really do think the least of his problems is going to the bathroom. Just pee his pants, it's fine.
and then finally he hears a voice coming from somewhere near the entrance of this cave. And when he heard that voice, it was like the sweetest sound he had ever heard.
Yeah.
Because not only did they represent help, but the voice was coming from Floyd's brother, Homer, who was also a very experienced caver. And so Floyd's thinking, thank goodness I'm saved. And so Homer was able to navigate from the entrance down all the way to the tunnel that Floyd was in. And Homer got to that spot in the tunnel where Floyd had gone to his hands and knees, that pocket there. So Homer's in that pocket. And he can see Floyd is only a few feet away from him. He can see Floyd's head right there.
Please tell me he's gone to like call authorities.
Shines the light on Floyd, and the two brothers don't waste any time with small talk. Instead, Homer, who had his oil lamp, had set it up right next to them, and he began feeding Floyd sausage sandwiches and giving him sips of water. And then Homer would tell Floyd
at least he could stay alive.
Did not have the equipment to help Floyd get out right now, but Homer was going to go back to the surface, get men, get supplies, and then come back.
But at least he's eaten
Floyd is
and
very
drank.
thankful. He's very relieved. He says goodbye to Homer, and Homer turns and makes his way back up to the surface. 15 hours later, Homer would return by himself. And so at this point, Floyd has been trapped for 45 hours. And so Floyd
2 days
is there, kind of in and out of consciousness, and he hears the sound of Homer calling out to him, and then he hears the sound of Homer chiseling away at some rocks. It would turn out Homer's plan to save Floyd was basically to chisel away the side of this section of tunnel that Floyd was stuck in order to be able to
But that's dangerous because the rocks
somehow,
collapse
some
on
way,
him.
clear the rock off of Floyd's leg and then pull Floyd up.
Or he could do the
Floyd
sides.
understood, of course, that this plan of chiseling away the side of this tunnel to make it wider was going to take some time.
Yeah.
But luckily, Homer had shown up with more food and water.
So he's not going to die
the whole time
dehydration
and
hunger.
And so Floyd was in good spirits, and Homer was very optimistic.
Because he's going to be careful of the ceiling
after
falling.
8 hours of Homer slowly chiseling his way, widening this tunnel, he hadn't made much progress, and he was totally exhausted. I mean, you got to remember that the angle he was working at was horrible. He was basically crouched down on his hands and knees.
It's called someone, I mean, he's got authorities.
And so after those 8 hours, Homer would leave Floyd and go back home and sleep and eat and drink and kind of recover. But he told Floyd, don't worry, tomorrow more men will be here to help chisel away this tunnel and get Floyd out of there. But over the course of the next 50 hours, Floyd remained trapped inside of this tunnel with the rock pinning his leg, and despite Homer and several other men getting down there and very diligently chipping away at this tunnel, it just was not happening very quickly. And so over the course of those 50 hours, Floyd began going in and out of consciousness, and he began
losing
not
oxygen.
being able to differentiate between what was real and what was not.
Yeah.
At one point, he would say that he believed the cave had kind of opened up, and these angels riding golden chariots with flaming wheels had come in.
I think it's a lack of oxygen that's causing
that.
that.
Out of the cave,
I think.
He smelled food and coffee, and then suddenly his hallucination cleared, and he realized he was trapped in the darkness, all alone, still in this cave, and it was like it destroyed his morale.
Yeah,
and
true.
so Floyd is really starting to go downhill, and the rescuers are realizing they need to do something, and they need to do something now. But at the 130-hour mark, things got even worse for Floyd. As he was laying there in the tunnel, this was sometime in the middle of the night, and so no rescuers were actively down there trying to chisel their way down to him. He was laying there, and he was listening to the sound of the running water somewhere outside the cave.
Oh, no.
And that sound was kind of amplified down to him, and then all of a sudden, he heard the sound of falling rocks somewhere up above.
No.
And then when those rocks stopped, and it went silent again, he could not hear the sound of the running water. It was very muffled.
No.
And that was when he realized that there must have been a cave-in somewhere higher up.
He's actually stuck underground.
Potentially, there could be a significant block just to get down to him. Forget about widening this tunnel. I mean, he could be actually entombed inside of Sand Cave. And so Floyd did the only thing he could do, which was to pray. It would turn out that cave-in had indeed blocked the way for rescuers to get down to Floyd. And because of how extensive this cave-in was, the rescuers actually decided to start carving a brand new tunnel that would join up with the side of Floyd's tunnel. I mean, this is an even bigger undertaking than just chiseling the side of the tunnel that Floyd was in, which was their original plan and had taken several days. And so now they have to build this brand new tunnel to Floyd. And so finally, on February 16th, 1925, so a staggering 17 days
17
from the time Floyd got first stuck in this cave, the rescue team finally punched through and reached Floyd. And as soon as they did,
please tell me Floyd's alive.
The rescuer looked over at Floyd, and then he paused, he turned up, and he just said, "Dead." It would turn out shortly after that cave-in, which sealed Floyd in,
he's gonna lose oxygen
inside of Sand Cave. At some point over the next couple of days, those rocks began to break free and tumble down the cave and began striking Floyd until finally one or several of those rocks hit him in the head or chest and killed him. So just imagine,
that's painful as well. That's a painful
You've been
death.
there for several days. You're in total darkness. You're entombed inside of this cave, and periodically rocks just come tumbling down
and falling one by one.
Who knows how long it took to kill him, but that has to be one of the most agonizing ways to go ever. Shortly before that happened, a photographer took a picture of Floyd, who at the time believed he was going to get out, and all the rescuers believed they were going to get him out. But shortly after this photo was taken, the cave-in would happen, and at that point, Floyd didn't know it, but he was doomed. Here is that photo.
That's Floyd stuck in the thing. Oh,
Floyd's body was eventually removed from Sand Cave. However, instead of being buried, because of the interest around this cave rescue that ultimately failed, there was a decision made to actually put Floyd's body on display inside of another cave. Basically, Floyd's body became a tourist attraction. And it would remain a tourist attraction for decades until finally he was removed from that cave and given a proper burial.
Wow.
So that's going to do it.
That's it. Well, that was quick. That was a quick 21 minutes. Jeez. Well, guys, that was that was an interesting. I'm not gonna say good story because obviously that was terrible what happened to that guy. He died, being stuck in a cave, could not move, and slowly got pounded with rocks to death. That is. I can't really think of anything that could be worse in a way to die. Poor guy. And well, I say, guys, thank you so much for watching. If you want to see another Mr. Ballen video, please hit the like and subscribe button. Like, please, it would mean the absolute world to me. If you want to see something different, that's absolutely fine. I can react to something else. I really do want to get a gaming video in, but I have crap internet at the moment, so I cannot download games. Otherwise, if I had good internet, I'd have already downloaded games. Among Us, actually no, I'll let you guys decide. Once I've got good internet, I'll let you guys decide which games you would like me to play, okay? But that's it, guys. Thank you, and I'll see you all in the next one.